So, for sure, the one good thing about having a channel is just that I get to express my obsessive behavior. I often feel like when I'm trying to talk to someone about something I'm real passionate about, you could just tell that the other person just doesn't care. And when that happens, you really feel alone. And I admit I am a little obsessed with Godzilla Minus One. And I don't think it's because it's brand new, because now I've seen it more than once, and I like it more and more each viewing. I remember the first time I saw King Kong back in 2005. I remember I walked out of that film, and I actually believed that was the greatest movie I've ever seen. But then when I watched it at home on DVD in my living room, I no longer felt that way. The magic was gone. And I'm wondering if that's gonna happen with Godzilla Minus One. I feel like some movies are just made for the theater. Maybe it's just a powerful sound system, the giant screen, stuff you really can't replicate in your own living room. And I will say the sound in this film really does make this film really effective. Just Godzilla's roar, the sound effects, and definitely the score. And the score is so good in this. It should definitely win an Oscar. It really just brings the emotion. In fact, I've just been listening to the soundtrack nonstop since I've seen the film. And you know a movie has a great soundtrack when you listen to each song and you remember what was going on in the movie when the song played. It's almost like a Broadway musical. And I really just can't praise that enough. Everything's good, the acting, the movie. But I could really just praise everything about this film. So if it's still playing by you, and you still haven't seen it, definitely watch this film in theaters. And I also recommend just seeing it again, because there's really aspects in the film that I appreciated more on repeat viewings. And no, I'm not obsessed with the film just because I'm a Godzilla fan. You know, that could happen with some fanboys. But I really just believe this film is just that good. And actually, I'm starting to see a lot of people say they're feeling the same way. They just can't stop thinking about this film. And like I said, this movie just keeps getting better and better each viewing. And I really got a chance to really soak up this film. I got really absorbed in its story, its characters, its emotion, and I missed all that my first viewing. This isn't so much a movie about a giant monster. It's more so just an emotional and powerful time period drama. And it's about these incredible characters that we come to love. And it's all just in a 2-hour film. And I'm really just amazed at how much this movie was able to do. Every character in this is unique, memorable, and they each have a full character arc. Even the characters I didn't really notice at first, like Tachibana. I think whoever plays him is just an awesome actor. He's like a modern day Toshiro Mifune. He's got that same kind of masculine energy, and his character really plays a big role in the story. He's also someone we can relate to. Maybe we were that employee at a job that we worked hard at, and then we saw other employees that were lying or just not working hard, and we wanted to call them out. And we're introduced to his character right in the beginning. And he later comes back with a major key role in the story and the development of even the main character. And I just love the message of the film. It's about being encouraged to live. It's also about acknowledging past mistakes and moving on. And just being broken down and coming back stronger than ever. That's very much what Godzilla is in this film. But it's also about Japan and its people and its soldiers that fought in the war and they lost and they moved on and they rebuilt. And I'm starting to believe that Godzilla represents balance. He only really emerges when there's an imbalance such as weapons of mass destruction, or even just another kaiju monster. He's never really good or bad. It's just how you view him. He's just kind of like a force of nature. And also, I really like the character Noriko. The first time I saw her, I was kind of annoyed by her, but she really is just a beautiful character. And what she says is really powerful. She tells Koichi that the people who survived the war shouldn't feel guilty. They were meant to live on. And I also really just misunderstood Koichi on my first viewing. I misinterpreted him as just being distant and arrogant. And that's not at all what he is. He's a man who hasn't moved on from the war. And he has pain and guilt from it, and that makes him unable to let people in. But he grows as a person, and he faces his fear and his pain head on. And he really is just a pretty complicated character, and I definitely misjudged him. And just the incredible thing about this film too is there's at least 6 characters in this that have a full character arc. And just compare these characters to the new Godzilla Monarch show. It's amazing because it just takes this film 2 hours to fully develop these characters and make them likable. That entire series, even if they had 10 seasons, would never be able to match these characters. I also realize now too that the characters are the focus of the story and Godzilla is second. But Godzilla is definitely needed for the characters and the story to develop. And this Godzilla is definitely one of the most terrifying monsters in any movie. I didn't really realize it at first, but he is so destructive. It's really easy for him just to destroy an entire city and just keep going on. And there's really no way he can exist with humanity. And I heard some people say that you don't really feel his presence when he's off screen. They often point to the original 1954 film, which you actually do feel like he's still there even though he's not on screen. But now I disagree. Even before we see him transform into full size, you still feel like he's out there, just waiting. Sooner or later, you know that the characters are gonna have to face him. And we see that Koichi is just feeling the same way, because he's having nightmares about Godzilla. And Koichi eventually just has to face what he fears most. And I feel like all of us, too, will have to face our own forms of Godzilla. That's a scary reality. And if you've seen this film, then you know what the scene is. It's about 45 minutes in. And this time when I watched that scene, I was in tears. I felt so much emotion from this film, from its score, from the visuals, the acting. And it's not cheap either, like some films do, where they're almost manipulating you. This film is really just able to be effective for so many reasons. And it's just such an effective scene, especially if you've ever lost anyone you loved, or you could just picture it. It's movie magic. So I can't say for sure if Godzilla Minus One will lose its magic. Maybe it'll end up being just like King Kong. I'll watch it, I'll scratch my head and just be unable to relive that magic. That magic that I felt in the theaters. And I'm not saying this is the best movie ever made, at least not yet. But it's just that my experience with Godzilla Minus One was something that I'm never gonna forget. And this is just why I love movies so much. Even if people don't share the same love, that's fine, I accept that. But I feel this way, and I take film very serious. And I can't ignore the fact that the movie experience is dying. And I had to explain to some people why the movies were so empty. And I had to say that this is normal. It's been like this for the last few years. And I'm gonna ride it out until it disappears. But with Godzilla Minus One, just the fact that the average American moviegoer, they're coming out to see a Japanese movie, I think that's a good sign. And I was even able to get my parents, who haven't been to a movie in 6 years, to come out and have a great time watching a Japanese Godzilla movie. So, there's definitely hope. Anyway, hopefully this is my last video about Godzilla Minus One. I don't know, we'll see. I still may go and see it again. Hopefully it keeps playing in the theaters, and if it does, definitely make sure you go and see it. Anyway, thanks for watching.